In this live coding TDD session, we find that we actually introduced a bug in the last session. So how do we find and fix it? And how do we prevent it from happening? What actually is going on? Hold on to your hats for this one. This goes places. Also, we have a discussion on, is TDD worth it? This seems to be taking a long time to create this game. So check it out. Hello, folks. Welcome back to another edition of the Quality Coding live stream. Welcome, Mudshark and first-time chatter Growth Pilgrim with Happy Block. Hey, thanks for saying hello. My name is John Reed. For those of you who are new here, hey Garbob, and by new here I mean folks watching on YouTube. Check out qualitycoding.org. That's my blog, my book, and yeah, welcome Tommy. Oh, and for folks who are watching on YouTube, subscribe and watch for a bit. And if you like what you see, give it a like. We are continuing to TDD, our game of Mastermind, which currently is very, very slim, but it works to have a single guess of a single code, and it's right or wrong. And we're trying to expand now to have a secret of 2. So you have to guess 2 colors. We've gone through and made some new types. And it looks like, examining our discovery tree here, we are on displaying the empty holes. Currently, the empty holes here, I'll show you. Let's just run this sucker. Hello? Running. Why is it attaching? Do I have the... Where'd it go? Oh, there it is. It just didn't come up. Okay, so there's our game. Our awesome game. You get there's only one space in which to guess. We want to expand that to 2. So, continuing with the many of one pattern, where we currently have our code guess view we wrapped it in an H stack. By the way, I was playing with this in Xcode 16 and the tests failed. So I think I need to report a view inspector bug. It was like as soon as I added the H stack, things went bonkers. It couldn't find its way anymore. I don't know. Things still pass here. I'm using Keycaster now to show my shortcuts. Like that. So thank you. Was that Garbob? No, that was up. I forget, but thank you. So we currently have our one button, our one hard-coded button of guess 1, which has this guess 1 as the ID, which I presume is there for the tests so that we can find this thing. And it's just slapping setting the color to be the first guess color. Wait, what is setting this? I think it's deeper down here. Maybe? I don't remember. We'll find our way. Let's go. Let's just figure out let's just try stuff and see what happens. So if we have an H stack, we have our guess type, which has, I feel like we ought to keep track of the secret size. Mudshark, again thinking about guess validation, it should not return a true or false result. It should return an array of, yes, all the different things. Correct. That is quite true. We'll get there. But I feel like the code itself is secret. It is private. We have subscript so you can get at things, but I feel like we ought to be able to ask, and what's your size? So that we can for each through, that many slots, that many empty code guesses. So maybe that's a next step, and then we wrap this in and extract it into its own thing. Something. Whoops, not mail. Didn't mean to do that. What did I mean to do? Miro. So to do that, I think we need makes sense that if we are working with, is it the guess? Yeah. It's funny because we have the secret length, but that should set the guess size. I'm pretty sure. Right? Because we've got it's set up with the secret size. Hey, Eric. So that should be fine. So I think I'm going to say if we for each I'm going to accept this as a decent suggestion. For each 0 up to 0 and less than 1. That's probably not a bad start. That this should still pass. And what I want here is to say, I'd like this to be the guess size. Of which there's no such thing. So this may surprise you, but I want to refactor my way there. I don't, do I really want a TDD guess size? I'm not sure how important it is, but maybe we do. Let's go back. Try again. Guess size. Do we have guess tests? We do. All right. I thought I could get away with just not just using the guess size, but feels like it might be nice to have it. Create guess, set and get at indices. So I think above here. One thing I like to do with my tests, is have them tell a story by the way they're ordered, top to bottom. Can you get the size from the guess somehow? Not currently. The code is completely hidden. So if I say I want a size, say 4. And result of an int, that's SUT size. Yeah, like that. That looks good. I think we can just say like that. Hey, Silverback Swift. Hey, John, can I ask why you prefer XCT assert equal versus XCT assert nil? Let's see. I'm not sure where. Hey, the doctor professor. So I have my my bot set up so that if you've been here before, you can post links. If you said that is if you've been in the chat, active in the chat, then I approve you. And so sorry, that's just my way of keeping spam down. Silverback Swift, I was wondering, oh, here? My guess is that I slipped up. Let's come back there. To be fully TDD'd in the most pedantic, not pedantic, the smallest form of TDD would be to return a hard-coded 4, right? And but because this is so trivial, I feel fine not triangulating this. I wonder if size is the right word. If count is, since count is the normal word, maybe I should say guess count. But I'll stick with size. So I do want to see it fail. Now, I overspoke in terms of pedantic. But when basically, when going through the steps of TDD, if it's super obvious, I'll skip some steps. I'm okay doing that. Just how it is. So I'm going to inline this now. So that should still be fine. And then we'll come back and look at this because I may have totally messed up. And it should be that. Like, does that still pass? It should. Yeah. So the only reason I think I was just, you found something, a hole. I would prefer to use the higher order assertions where possible. The only reason I use XCT assert equal is if this part is optional. If it's optional, then no, that's not the one. If it's optional and you want to say, like, if you have an optional bool and you want to say assert true or assert false, you can't do that. That's what it is. Because it's like, I can't tell whether this is true or false. It's optional. To do that, then you say, well, assert that it's equal to true, and then it promotes the true literal to an optional true value. So this is better. Oh, greetings, sir, in caps by accident. Oh, that's hilarious. Oh, I didn't even read the warning. Stop spamming caps. All right. Welcome the Dr. Professor. So this is so small, I'm okay with it. So let's get that in. There's our change. This is a super tiny feature. Add size to guess. And push. And y'all can try this. Again, on Xcode 16, I think there are problems. So I'm sticking with 15 for now. That takes care of that. Back to many of one. I'm not sure. I don't know what data carving is. Python is a cool language, I think. What is data carving? Can you give us a TLDR? I'm curious. For the variable name, size might be better than count as it is more descriptive for the logic layer we are dealing with. Yeah, that's exactly why I thought, we'll leave it like that, because it seemed to fit the domain better. And coming up with domain names that fit in your domain, really important, really helpful. Data carving is the complicated way to undelete things. Back on the game screen. Okay, now let's go. Now let's see if we can't for each this puppy. Let me see if I can't do it the way we learned. Embed. Whoop, let me try it again. Okay, so there's no embed in for each, but there is just an embed. And we learned last time that these they're not full, they're very helpful. These nice things don't appear unless you have the canvas open, which is silly. Because it's funny how, if you've been watching this series at all, you'll notice how little I use the canvas. So if we change this now to a for each, oh, look at that. It's suggested something that's better than what I would have come up with, because I would have forgotten the need to have an ID on this. Whoops, spaces there. For each blah, blah, blah. And an index, which is unused. If I pop the index in here and I say guess index plus 1, I think that as long as we keep the guess size at 1, our tests will continue to pass. That is my prediction. So that seems valid. There's stuff in here that does the guess type conform to identifiable? I don't think it does. And the thing that we need unique in here is this whole button, isn't it? So that if maybe not. I'm going to roll with this because tests pass. So that is really, at this point, it's still a refactoring. We're not really sure that the feature is working. Okay. Thanks, Anticoder. No problem. Keep speaking up, by the way. It's how I'm learning on yes button. Oh, that's right. Like, why is it a button? It's because that it's a button, probably quite unnecessarily at this point, because as you see, the button has no action. That's getting ahead of ourselves. That we ought to be able to select which guess we're targeting. So, question is, what does this look like? How do I activate the preview? No, that's that. Yep, that's it. Liking the keycaster that you can see what's going on here with my shortcuts. And that is definitely something that I will use in remote ensemble work, the keycaster. Hello, is this ever gonna go? There we go. Took a while. Okay, so if we change the number of code choices to 2 and increase the secret size, nice. Secret size of 4, come on. Didn't. Or. Uh-oh. Assertion failure. Oh, I know why it failed. That's my runtime assertion that you can't have. We have to have, like, this should be okay if we have 4 code choices going into a secret size of 4. All right, it doesn't fit. Let's come back to 2. Oop. I think you picked it up temporarily there. Come on. How do I reactivate this thing? Okay, forget it. Let's go to, yeah, I think the size of the circles is probably hard-coded right now. I kind of want to see what this does. So let's set the secret size to 2 and run the game. This part is not tested because this is the composition root. It is simply the definition of everything we need. And there we go. It's not working. Is it running? I'm not convinced it's running yet. Maybe it is. I'm surprised. I thought that well, I kind of thought that the second guess would be ignored and that we would continue to play a game of like, did I get the first guess right or not? So let's examine that that assumption. You can make guess uniquely identifiable. If you can make guess uniquely identifiable, for each can take a guess array instead of a range of indices. Also, by making a guess conforms to hashable, you can use it to directly to set the identity for the associated button, but this will require to use guess in unit tests instead. Interesting. All right, so what's going on with our game? If we take a look at the game screen for a second. First, let me revert and make sure that I haven't broken anything. Oh, I did break something. I broke functionality. This is not a pure refactoring. Womp womp. Okay. Let's spend a little bit of time figuring out if we can fix forward. Otherwise, we're kicking it out. It is not setting guess of index, the code choices. When we select have a code choice view, when you select the code choice view and click a button, guess to set is hard coded to 0. So I would think that it would be only be setting the 0th guess in there, and maybe our game over. Well, I expect it to change the color at least, even if, and maybe do the game over. Man, I'm uncomfortable. I'm uncomfortable with this. Let me, I just want to peek backwards for a second. So without reverting it, oh, I broke it. I broke it. Where did I break it? Doggone. Is it here? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. What's going on? Is it here? Good gosh, y'all. I don't know. I'm not convinced. This is so Thank you for that hash. Or are you being serious? You are. Oh, those are the actual hashes. Dang nabbit. Okay. Well, let's take the earlier one. Actually, let's go back one before. Well, that's the first one you suggested. Okay, let's go back here. Ah. Oh dear. All right. Now I'm going to git bisect. Start. And that one was good. That's git bisect good. And we know our current one is bad. So that's git bisect bad. Huh? Oops. Fatal. Got to start over. Git bisect reset. Start over. Git bisect. Start. This one is good. And warning, you are switching branch while bisecting. Yes. I mean, really, I just want this one. Git bisect bad. Okay, bisecting, here we go. Now, let's run this. And that's bad. Again. Crap. And there it is. That seems to be the bad one. At least we found it. All right, what's going on here? Lines 19. So change from, this is changing from our hard-coded color to the guess type. How did this break? it's pretty clear that this breaks the win-lose thing. Also, didn't we used to show the color? Messed that up. Well, we know where the line is problematic now. Crap. This could be an argument for something I'm usually reluctant to do, and that is having an acceptance test. I'm afraid of having an acceptance test too early when the game is still in its very, very nascent phases. But we know where the problem is. Let's have a look. Huh. All right. Yeah, ideally we want a unit test if clearly something is wrong. I'm going to now check out, no, git bisect reset. Have to get out of it. Clean build it just in case. Oh gosh, let's make sure we're at the right one. Yeah. Good gosh. Clean everything. You never know. Run the tests. Run the code. Yeah. Oh, gone. I know we have tests around you win and you lose. Let's see here. We have a game with 2 code choices, but wait a second. And a secret size in an embedded secret size of 1, which matches what we have. Oh, and decoder. Oh. Oh. I bet you're right. That would explain why the microtests are happy, but nothing is apparent. We don't see the results. Let's walk through this and make sure that this makes sense. Okay, so you're suggesting the tests will just do whatever they do because they're not actually working in the SwiftUI sort of model, the life cycle. So when there is a guess, even though it's state, we're passing the guess down into to everything, including our code choices here, which then passes it down into the code choice view. And here's the guess to set, and here's our hard-coded. Well, you selected that, so we're setting guess. Let's just add a little bit of printing here. What's the way to print? I think it's like that inside of SwiftUI. Set guess a class. Oh, it is a class. Bingo. I smell. Wow. Damn. I'm putting this down right now in our learnings. Okay. With that, let me reset and let's see. What if we change this then? We did mark the variable inside game screen as state, but forgot one step. Which is making this, yeah. Oh, to make it observable. What if this were a struct instead? Would that be enough to say, whoop, we got a new value? Let me just fire this off and see what blows up. Kind of expected something to not even. Okay, so what if, okay. Observable was better. What is our minimum? Wrong one. Hello, buffer. It looks like we've got 17.2. So we can use at observable. This is messed up. Oh man. Okay. May need to reach for a cursor here. Come on, cursor. Let's go to That didn't give me anything. Classes are data for your data model, at least the way I do it. Seems like you can use the observation framework instead of observable object. Hang on, I'm still trying to get AI help rolling here. And hopefully you can see that well enough. I'm going to make this just a minute. 17. There we go. All right. Let's say when yes changes, the SwiftUI does not update. Make yes use at observable. Let's see what it says. Pro tip that I learned with regards to coding is to prefer Claude over ChatGPT, because Claude is actually trained on code, whereas Chat is just generic. Okay, so at observable at the beginning. No other changes. Now SwiftUI will now well, it thinks. Well, no, it doesn't think. It's just spewing random words that match. SwiftUI will now automatically update when properties of guess instances change. All right, let's try it. Really? Isn't it at observable object? That's what it's suggesting. Or is that I'm having trouble. I need to ignore the Copilot. I'm just going to go with that, even though it's not completing for me. No. Import, probably. SwiftUI? Sorry. My reaction there is like, here we are in a model class. Eric will straighten us out. Okay, it builds. I want to see what it does. Wow. How the heck do you... So observation is the sub... Okay, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. This is a new thing to me. So what's making me go, right now is, yay, problem fixed, and I should commit it right away. This is a bug fix, one-liner, changes using make game observable, otherwise no update to UI. Andy Coder's playing in here. Excellent. Hey, man. What a time. I can. At least I can now. Let me push this. Oh, I did. Okay, so try that, Andy Coder. Now, what in the world? How do we make it so that this is, if this goes away, basically if we revert this change, somebody comes along and says, oh, yeah, we don't need this, it'll break a test. I've been following you, Tommy. I've been following you for a while now, and I think it takes so long to progress this way, but do you think it's worth it? I myself have not even used tests in my development, but I am a senior hobby programmer. That's a good question. You're taking so long with compared to what is my sort of question back. And I can tell you that in my experience, and also which matches research from Microsoft and IBM, doing TDD takes longer for the developer to be able to say, I'm done, meaning I'm done coding and now it's up to QA to check it, which is not a great way to code. Xcode 16. Okay. Anyway, back to Tommy. So it takes longer basically for the initial coding. What we have, though, is, in my observation, the time to ship remains the same. That is, if we just dove in and started doing all this stuff, there would be bugs. We're now finding real bugs in our code, but there would have been a lot more. And you would have had all this code and say, okay, now let's try it. And now it's a process of finding bugs. When I first moved to Silicon Valley, people had this notion of basically a mountain, a bell curve of bugs. According to the unresolved bugs, they would just keep going up and up and up and up. And QA from this time would say, we can not yet predict when we will ship. And then eventually it peaks as people start like, stop coding and start going through all this code, trying to find the problems and fix them. And then as it comes down, then QA's, and then the project folks are making, projecting like, okay, at the current rate of fixes, our guess of when we will be able to ship is out here. But that meant that, like, as long as it's going up, your prediction is unknown, super not helpful. What I'm doing is focusing on, and we broke it for a few commits. I want to keep going, Tommy, because I think this is really important. I only broke it for a few commits, and we detected it right away by just trying to make changes. Also, I make lots of commits. So really, I only broke it from last coding session. The cool thing about operating with test-driven development and evolutionary design, is you create the kernel of something that works. It's not everything you want, but it's a kernel that works, and you grow it. And the important thing is to make changes and keep everything working. 0 bugs. 0, 0, 0. And that, yeah, you just don't have to hunt for stuff. We found this pretty quickly, thanks to folks with experience going, Andy Coder saying, yeah, it's not refreshing. Your tests are fine, but your tests don't know that it's not re-rendering. But the hunt was minimal. When can you ship it? You can ship it as well. We could ship it now, but not to everybody. And we're operating on the trunk. Well, we should be able to deploy our code at any point to our select users. Hey, Michaela. Welcome. Where are you today, Michaela? Yeah. Thanks for coming. Croatia. Oh my gosh. You're living the life. I admire you. That's great. Welcome from Croatia. So that was a long narrative to Tommy's really good question. The when can we ship then becomes simply a matter of how many features are left and kind of what's our rate of getting features done. And those things you can, instead of predicting them, you use yesterday's weather to say, here's our rate so far. Here's how many features we have yet to do. And then you Monte Carlo the crap out of it. And that is you run it through a simulation saying, based on how many tasks there are and the likelihood of those tasks actually growing and how long they take, and maybe some take longer. Here's our probability calendar of when we think we'll be able to ship the features in this list. So it all comes together. These are evolutionary design, TDD, keeping regressions down, 0 bugs, working with an always working solution and growing it rather than creating a bunch of stuff and then testing it. All these practices come together. It's called extreme programming. Anyway, that was a fun digression. Lots of good stuff in the chat here. To me, the main benefit of doing this comes later on. Good point. Well, when you need to make changes, testing gives you a much higher level of confidence that your code works as expected without having to retest everything by hand with every single change. So with TDD, even though I ship at the same time, roughly, as somebody who doesn't TDD, by building up all this safety net and a design that's changeable and testable, I make it so that for the next changes I need to do, they're much easier. And yeah, I don't have to check every damn thing. And the bigger the code base gets, the more time you save. Nice. All right, so how the heck do we make this, make a test for this? First, the first and dumbest test I can think of is there some way, some thing that the observable macro adds that we can just check? Does it have that thing? Yeah, it's not testing the behavior, but it's just testing, is it observable? So that's one possibility. Testing the behavior would be better, but I don't know how to do that. What does at observable actually do? Oh, I thought it was a macro. Isn't it a macro? It's got add on it. There we go. It just didn't want to show me. You know, as a hobbyist, do whatever you're having fun with. You know, I'm not going to tell you how to have your hobby. So let's ask our friend Claude, not chat. Is there, add any property we can check for in test to make sure the class is actually observable? Tommy. The other thing to remember is that we're doing an hour and a half every week or so. This is really set. I've done 18 retros, call it 20, before I started doing retros. So that would be like 20, 30 hours. So roughly a week of work we'd be at this point. It's not as slow as this. I'm just poking at you, you know that. I know the observable object protocol exposes an object will change variable that views listen to. I haven't tinkered with it. See, if we can just make it so that even if a test fails to compile without it, that would be fine. It's not as good as Thank you. Yeah, I was trying to expand the macro to see, you know, exactly what I was trying to do. It's not as good as testing the behavior, which is still another question to ask. Like, is there a way on the game screen tests? Probably not, because it's doing its own sort of fake around, inspect the changing view. And all this passed without that. So let's try Garbob's idea because it looks simple. And let's go to the game tests, the guest tests. And I want test is observable. So if I make an SUT, the system under test, can I say, is it as easy? Here, let's see what it says. I mean, yes, that's basically what I expect. Oh. Not quite. Close, though. That's sort of the idea. SUT is observable. Is test is always true. Okay. Now let's get rid of it. Okay. Thank you, Nemesis. I think we landed on the same place. After the project is built, is there an option editor? Expand macro? Let's kind of want to see. Oh, there is. Let's see if I select, for example, this binding. This is an editor. Expand macro. What if I select the guess to set? No. Let's go back to the guess. Bring this back. No expanding macros for you. Funny. All right. Well, that was interesting. Let me expand this test name to make it clear why it's there. So that it suggested something pretty good, and I missed it. So that views can observe changes. That's pretty good. The need to be built, I guess. Better be, better be observable. All right. Huh. This has been a really peculiar time, but an important time. The nice thing about this is it keeps us from having to go back and write a whole, like a UI test. Don't want to do that. Not unless I'm back up against a wall or it's so big and there are all these moving parts. We don't have that many moving parts. Phew. All right. So we backfilled a test for the bug fix. So that's T backfill test to prevent the regression. Phew. There are still questions about its behavior on Xcode 16 and the next iOS. The problem I had, we can fire up Xcode 16. Yeah, a second. Let's give this a try. Oh. Whoops, wrong one. Make sure this is in fact Xcode 16. It is. And I think tests. Oh. Let me just first try tests. But again, I think there's a problem. Whoa. Okay, it's not going to do that. Here we'll do smash fix. There. This test displays code choices bottom up. Yeah. This is the problem that I think is a view inspector issue because works fine on 15. Let me try running. You said with, well, first let me try it with iOS 17. Okay. Now we'll try. By the way, the other question around, I think, extreme programming and acceptance tests is, you're really going to do manual testing? Yeah, every so often. We will do that together as an ensemble, saying, okay, we made all these changes. All right. And somebody says, yeah, this thing broke. And we detect it right away. Okay, here we are in iOS 18. I don't know. Oh, okay. You know, I'm not so worried about that right now because the sheet, well, yeah, what's going on there? It's like the sheet needs, when it's dismissed, it needs to say, I was dismissed, so do this thing. Let me note that. Let me note that, note that, note that in the notes over here. And let me clear out this junk. Let's see. iOS 18 sheet dismissing sheet. It comes right back. I'm going to put that in something as a to-do. There we go. Did view? Oh, yes. View inspector. I did make an update because in previously Xcode 16 and View Inspector just didn't get along at all. But now with View Inspector 0.10, it seems to. Just in case, let me update it and let's find out. And I think that's it. Let's double check. Okay, so yeah, 5 days ago, he made those changes. So I think I'll submit my project as like, there's something funny going on with this test. We can take a quick look at it, but otherwise I kind of want to wrap up. But yeah, I may have an edge case. It's also possible that I'm abusing View Inspector. That could be. We made a change here to support that Xcode 16 required. So let's try this on. Oh, quiet, you bouncy thing. Ah. Ah. Bill Wake and I had a similar problem. Each options needed a separate state for the sheet being opened. It must be maybe a change in behavior, which happens. Let's see. Let me make sure we are okay, 15. We made a change in 16 to keep it happy. There, test pass. Get test to compile on Xcode 16. So what is the problem we face in Xcode 16? Let's just have a look real quick. I'm not expecting to solve this, but I'd like to, maybe you'll have some ideas. Which one? There are too many. This one. let's see. So this is Xcode 16 running against same iOS 17. Test failure on it's deep inside View Inspector that it found a code choice view instead of a button. And this is on display code choices bottom up. So in this test, it tries to get the code choice color, and it's going through this grossness, but at least it's only doing it in one place to try to get to the button. But what did it say? Code choice view. Code choice view. Hang on a second. Show me again. Found a code choice view instead of a button. So here's the code choice view, and it says, I found this, not the button. So any ideas on, like, I tried various things already. No success yet. This is on the game screen tests. I need to I'm getting too many things here. It's getting hard to manage. Let's sort by name. Sort by name. Sort by type? No, sort by. And let's get that in. This is an environment change. Sort files in the project navigator. Did you choose code choice ID with find method? So did I do the find on it? Right, let's find out. I don't think so. Okay, that's a good idea. I'll try that, but I'm going to try that in off hours. Let's wrap up right now. Quiet, 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 you. Be quiet, you battling Xcodes. Each one wants to have its say. Me, I touched it last. You know what? You go away. All right. Any other thoughts? This was... What else did we do? We learned how to add we learned that. We had the big long narrative on why why TDD if it takes longer. Seems to take longer. It doesn't actually take longer. And the longer you do it, the less time it takes. That is over the course of a project. You pay a hit up front, you reap the benefits. Any other observations? And let's leave this in. Okay, I think we're still trying to get there. Okay, so I'll just leave that up. But we also, just to be clear, we fix fix redrawing. Kind of want that in there as an important step. And yeah, Eric is pointing out something I just read, that Xcode 16 now is like, oh, let's forget the group idea. When the project is created from scratch, need to check still. It will be amazing to go away from project file nightmare. I wonder if that means that if you add a file, that is, if Xcode is just observing the file structure of your code, if you add a file, that won't automatically pick it up in the sources, right? Because you still have to specify a target, I assume. That's one nice benefit of Twist, is you can just add files and say it's going to regenerate the projects. Really cuts down on project merge nightmares. Nice. I just want to put this in here as important documentation. There we go. We also used git bisect wasn't as helpful. I mean, it identified a specific commit that changed it, but I guess that gave us the clue, though. That gave us the clue that by setting something else, it wasn't picking up the change. Anyway, I'm just going to put that in there as something we observed. Any other thoughts? We can add Eric's thing here. Oh, more thoughts. Xcode 16 fails one test. Here, let's keep going. Xcode 16 file structure as something new to try out. I think that if you make it, I don't think it's backwards compatible. So if you used Xcode 16, you wouldn't be able to then use that file structure. I don't know. I haven't tried. The other thing I haven't done is upgraded my Mac to Sonoma. Yeah, that's what I figured, Garbub. Because then you can't use Xcode 15, I understand. And clearly I'm not ready to make the full jump. But at some point I want to, so that we can power up the Apple Intelligence code completion stuff. All right. Woo! This was tough going. Thank you so much. This it was, whoops, wrong one, that one. Yeah. There was a lot to learn in this one, and I really appreciate your input, your guidance, my learning. What else to say? Come back next week and we'll have more fun and we'll keep going with it. For folks who are watching on YouTube, definitely give this a like. You've watched this far. Pat yourself on the back. Congratulations for watching this far. Pat me on the back. Good job, John. It was worth it, maybe. Good enough. All right. Take care. This was fun. Thank you very much. And I'll see you next week. Peace.